Okay, coaches. Well, thank you for watching. That was a little longer video than the other ones, but I really wanted you to understand the breakdown. And now let's talk about the levels of competition within club soccer. So we explained the sanctioned bodies and what does it mean and what are the pathways for players and also for coaches. So you know how to best recommend the best options for your players and be the best mentor for them and for parents, because we need to inform all our parents. There's a lot of misinformation and ignorance, if you will, within the parents community, and we need to do a great job about informing them and keeping them all aware of what's the best way to support their athletes. If we're all together, boom, we can make great impact in those athletes. So within levels of competition, of course, we got boys and girls. So let's start from the very bottom all the way to the top. So it all starts as the recreational level, like we always say. It is a game and it has to be fun and it has to be recreational. So the younger the players are, the more fun it has to be. Again, it has to be fun all the time, but there's a certain point that it gets very competitive and it brings in a lot of stress, a little bit of stress, and there are some players that thrive within that stressful environment. There are others that don't. So that's why we have all this breakdown for them to choose what's the best environment for them. And that's it. And there are players that would always stay here, the recreational level, and they would have a blast, and they'll be 30 years old and they're always playing rec and not a problem. They're always all the players that would go here. They're all players that we make it here. They're all a little bit of players that will make it here, and there are just few percentage that will make it here. And out of those players that will make it here, they'll just like a 3%, boom, will go to professional. So again, it is very complicated to make it to professional, but at least by having a clear understanding, we can best support them. So starting from the recreational or what we call community soccer, these are volunteer coaches. Not all the time. There are parents that they start their own club. They sign them up for the park league. They put together a group of friends and they just start playing, and they start from a very young age. They're a 4v4 setting. U6, U7 with no goalkeepers, diamond shade, 4 players on the field, 1 defender, 1 striker or attacker, and 2 midfielders that can control the right and the left side. The original shape. We will get into that a little later into like the systems of plays and formats and while we're getting into the licensing process. But again, they can start at a very young age, 4v4, and then they'll add a goalkeeper, 5v5, and then they'll go on. Ideally, the younger they are, we want to keep it as short numbers as possible so they can get a lot of touches on the ball and a lot of actions and all the transitions, attacking, defending, and how to react to everyone. But anyway, it could be a community league. It could be not even a league. It could be just friendly games. They all get together. They play every weekend, or not even the weekends. During the week, they get together. They scrimmage for 1-2 hours, and they have a lot of fun. So that's what we call rec soccer or community soccer. A lot of good things happening here, and again, perhaps AYSO could be considered this, like the community-based or recreational type of soccer, but AYSO is very well structured. So most of the time, these community leagues, they're not so organized. They're just playing. Just show up to the park, and we don't even have a starting time. Let's go and play. So again, that's where the biggest players in the world have been born. They go play at the park, and then you identify like, oh my God, look at that player. He's an absolute baller, or she's an absolute baller. Let's go. Let's start conversations and stuff. So very fun, very nice. No structure, no refereeing, minimal coaching, and ideally that's where we want all our players to start. Then sometimes players or even parents, they start taking things more serious. Like, no, my kid is not playing at the recreational level. I want my kid to play serious. I'm going to sign him up for a club. Okay, sounds good. Let's sign him up. So I'm talking from the point of view of the Illinois state team. That's where I live, Illinois. So we have these local leagues that, there is called the Young Sportsmanship or Young Sportsman Soccer League, YSSL. And there's another one called Northern Illinois Soccer League. They're at the same level. And then on the women's side, we got Illinois Women's Soccer League. This is where the majority of the clubs starts, and there's 100 clubs in this league. They keep it local. You usually play 8 games per season, which is like 8 in the fall, 8 in the spring. Winter in Illinois is different because we have tough winter, and we go indoors, so the setting changes a lot. We cannot play the ideal format. And for the older teams, they cannot play 11v11. There's very few conflicts they can offer an 11v11 field indoors. competition for that space is super tough. And of course, it becomes very expensive. So anyway, it changes a lot during the winter, and we play what we call indoor soccer. Um, Most of those facilities, they have walls. It looks like a hockey pitch, so the ball never goes out of bounds, which is pros and cons to it. I like it personally. I don't want the players to adapt 100% to it and rely on the wall because it's not realistic. But I do like the fact that the ball never goes out, and there's no stoppages, and they just get a lot of touches and a lot of repetition, and the intensity is always high, so they get good fitness, and again, thousands of touches because the ball never goes out of bounds. So it just bounces off the wall and just keep going and going and going and going and going and going and going. That's in the winter. But anyway, when we're in the fall and the spring, we have these leagues that play local, hundreds of clubs, and they have multiple divisions. They start from Division 5 all the way up. So D5, D4, D3, D2, D1. And it's a relegation and promotion setting, meaning that if you win your league, you move up from Division 5 to 4. If you win it, you move up to Division 3, and so on. And if you end up at the very bottom of it, you'll get relegated. But it's not because they want to provide like, oh, you're not so good to be here or whatever. It's because they want to provide the appropriate level of competition. And at this age, it's not fun when a club gets crushes another club 10-0, 8-0, 12-0, 6, even 6-0, like sometimes it happens. But if you see a club that is repeatedly beating other teams more than 6, 7, 8 goals week after week after week, then the league does its diligence and say, hey, you need to be at a higher level. You cannot continue to crush all these people because you're damaging their career, man. Like this 8-year-old athletes are not there to getting crushed 8-0, 10-0 every week. That's not the ideal. The perfect scenario is to compete. It's not about winning, but it's to compete. Let's keep the games close, and teams that are like each other, very similar. And sometimes you can win, sometimes they can win, but they compete at the appropriate level. Some leagues they do a very good job at it, and some other leagues they don't, but they try to. So at least here in Illinois, these are the leagues that are doing a good job here, and they have all these 5 competitions. And again, it is considered club soccer because the players are wearing a uniform, they have a badge, they're getting good coaches that are not volunteer, they're getting paid, coaches that are prepared, that have their licenses, they want to make a career out of it. Again, they're always good and bad coaches, but good things happening here. Then, and all these names, they can vary, but this is so you can have an idea. So what they call competitive or travel soccer. And they say travel because, now we're playing clubs that are in the suburban areas and even a little farther away. So now we're getting on the road and we're driving at least an hour or 2 to play games. People that are very fans of that, people that are not so fans of that. I'm just a fan of competition. If we're going to drive 1 or 2 hours to get there for good competition, I'm all for it. If we're going to drive to play a not so good team, then I don't see a point to go drive every weekend to just play teams that are weaker than the ones we had in the backyard. So if we have good teams here, let's play against each other. Let's keep the competition high. Once you dominate in your area, let's start looking at different, teams and sectors and areas. And that's been the case with our club and our teams, but because we're heavily invested in this, and we do a very good research, and we communicate with the other coaches and with the league owners and the director of coaches of the other clubs, and we make sure we want to provide ideal and appropriate competition for our players. So, as I mentioned before, the NPL, which is the National Premier League out of the U.S. Club Soccer, they are here in Illinois, and they offer it for boys and girls, and they keep it local. The travel is no more than 45 minutes. All teams meet in the same place. They play in the same facility, meaning that you don't play away and home games. You always play at the same facility, which is easier for refereeing scheduling and field scheduling, and for teams to all meet at the same place, hopefully like mid-area, or in the middle between where you are and where we are. So this is U.S. Club Soccer, U.S. Club Soccer. Then this one right here, there's a new league that was founded like 2-3 years ago. It is called the Elite 64. It is from USYS, U.S. Youth Soccer Association. And it is very competitive. The top clubs, they have to apply for that league. And then it's based on how many players do you have, your facilities, how many coaches have certain licenses, record of having being a very good competitive club throughout the years, how much titles have you won, and so forth. So some clubs are part of this. The club that I work with currently, I just got accepted to this, so we're walking into our first year playing the Elite 64. We're very excited about it. and it again is very competitive, but they still keep it local, so the travel is very minimal. And we're very excited about that. Then the next year of it, what they call elite players, elite coaches, elite clubs, elite competition. We have the ECNL, which is again the Elite Club National League. In order to keep it local first and determine which are really the strongest teams, they have the regional league, which is the ECRL, which is same owned by the same people, but it is called Elite Club Regional League. So you start off in the regional league, and if you prove yourself as a club or as a team to be strong enough, then you move on to the national league, and now the travel really kicks in. Here, the travel really kicks in, and you're traveling. We're looking at 4 or 5 hours drive, even 7. You're going, I don't know, from Chicago to Minnesota. You're going to St. Louis, Missouri. You're going to, Grand Rapids, Michigan. You're going to, Notre Dame, Indiana. So, longer distances, but they ensure a high level of competition. So you're spending the weekend there, and you're not just playing one game. You're going out there, and they schedule 2, 3 games or 4. So 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So you go there, you play 4 games, you knock off 4 games, and then you come back. That said, you need to have a large roster, because if you're gonna play 4 games in a weekend, you cannot beat up your players like that. So usually you bring 25 players, and you distribute the players. You have a core that are going to play the majority of the minutes, but then you can distribute the rest of the playing time to the other players, and ensure that you have enough depth in the roster, and the level stays high, the intensity stays high, and you're not injuring any player. So on the boys' side, this is the batch for the ECNL, and then girls' side, this is the batch. It's pretty much the same, but red and gray right here. And then when it comes to the academy, there are a lot of clubs that call themselves academy. Oh yeah, we're the academy. The reality is that academy is only the teams that have a professional team at the top, which is the MLS teams, or USL championship teams. There are teams that have USL. They're not part of the MLS, but they are professional teams, and they can provide a pathway. And then they have a youth academy. They practice 3, 4, 5, and 6 times per week, starting from U13 and up, which is the 11v11 format. And the aim is to bring those players to the professional setting. So that's the only thing that we really, really, really call academy, where there's a professional team at the top of the ladder. You will hear this a lot: academy, and teams that are like right here. They play local leagues, and they have an academy team. That's a joke. They're right here, and they have a academy team. That's not true. They should be calling like the pre-academy, Perhaps some clubs here, they call themselves academy because they're lining up for this. They're applying for these leagues, and they're hoping that they're going to be, um, um, you know, bringing players to the elite, and the highest level. So they can call themselves academy because they practice 4 or 5 times per week. They have top level coaches, and for just to put you an example, a lot of the college players, men and women that play Division 1, they have came out of these leagues, ECNL. I mean, you can still have some players that came out of this, but usually the players that play CNL, they're making it to Division 1 colleges, Division 2, and getting scholarships and so forth. And then we have again MLS next for the boys, which are all the again academy teams for the MLS. MLS, sorry. So you say like FC Cincinnati will play LA Galaxy U16, and then you'll have New York City Red Bulls playing I don't know, Toronto Academy, so that's the true academy, and there's a lot of travel. Those players don't pay; they don't pay a single dollar for it. They'll receive everything. The clubs usually take care of everything: the travel, the nutrition, the psychology aspect, the coaching, the food, the transportation, everything. Those players don't make money like a salary, but they don't pay a single dollar. That's the true academy. So if you have players down here, they're considered like, oh, we're an academy player. Yes, you're paying $6,000 per year. You're not an academy player. Academy player is the one that are being taken care of. You join, and we'll take care of you. No worries. And those are usually the top players in the nation. So we got what they call the GA Girls Academy, and we have MLS next for the boys. Hopefully this explained it well. Thank you for watching again, and we'll see you in the next course. Thank you for completing. See you, coaches.